In our last video, we traced the full journey of an import shipment, from a factory in China to a warehouse in Delhi. We mapped 8 stages. We named 6 problems, namely demurrage, locked up duty, documentation errors, not having an Indian entity, unpredictable disruptions, and zero visibility. And at the end, we told you every single one of those problems has a solution. Today, we're going to show you exactly what that solution is. It's called a Free Trade Warehousing Zone, an FTWZ. By the end of this video, you'll know what it is, how it works, how it compares to everything you're doing today, and whether your business qualifies to use it. Let's get into it. An FTWZ, Free Trade Warehousing Zone, is a specifically notified category or special economic zone, established under the Special Economic Zones Act 2005 and governed by the SEZ rules, which came into force in February 2006. The model draws from internationally established free trade zone frameworks, namely Jebel Ali in Dubai, the Port of Singapore, and Rotterdam in the Netherlands, and adapts them within India's regulatory structure. Under Indian law, an FTWZ is designated as being outside the domestic tariff area, so therefore goods stored within it are legally treated as foreign goods. They have not formally entered the Indian customs territory yet. This means customs duty and GST do not apply at the point of entry into the zone. Those obligations arise only when goods are cleared into the Indian domestic market and only on the quantity being cleared at that time. Goods can be stored inside an FTWZ for up to 5 years. During that period, they can be traded, repackaged, relabeled, or re-exported, all without triggering domestic duty obligations. An FTWZ is notified by the Board of Approval under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry and regulated on the ground by the Development Commissioner of the respective SEZ jurisdiction. Operators must meet specific infrastructure and operational criteria defined under the SEZ rules before a zone can officially function. Let's take that same shipment. LED panels from Shenzhen, India bound, but this time instead of clearing customs at the port, the importer routes the goods directly to an FTWZ. Step 1. Goods arrive at the FTWZ. The container arrives from the port or directly by sea if the FTWZ has its own port connectivity. The goods enter the FTWZ and are received into storage. At this point, no customs duty is triggered. No IGST, nothing. Step 2 is storage without duty clock. Goods can be stored inside the FTWZ for up to 5 years duty-free. You are not forced to clear goods the moment they arrive. You store them, sell them, and only clear what you need when you need it. The next step is the third one, which is the flexible distribution options that we have. From inside the FTWZ, 3 paths are available. The first one is when goods are cleared into the Indian domestic market. Customs duty and GST apply only on that quantity, only at that moment. The second one is goods are re-exported internationally. And since the goods were never formally admitted into India's domestic tariff area, no Indian import duty applies at any point. They exit as foreign goods, the same status they held when they arrived. The third one is when you do light processing, relabeling, or repackaging, which can be carried out inside the zone, after which either distribution route remains open. The next step is step 4, which is foreign companies can also operate without an Indian entity. A foreign company can store goods in an FTWZ, manage inventory, and sell to Indian buyers without ever needing an Indian subsidiary or an IEC code for that matter, or a GST registration. When the Indian buyer purchases, they handle their own import documentation, pay the applicable customs duty on their end, and OSV, which is us, we manage the customs clearance process on the ground. Step 5 is inventory visibility. One of the structural advantages of operating through an FTWZ is the clarity it creates around inventory. Because all movement in and out of the zone is tracked and recorded under customs supervision, operators and their clients have a precise documented picture of what is stored, what has been cleared into the domestic market, and what has been re-exported at any given point in time. Now let's look at how a traditional import setup differs from an FTWZ. So we look at a standard import operation, how it's handled today, across 4 areas that matter most to any importer: cost and cash flow. Customs duty and GST are paid in full at the point of port clearance, before a single unit has been sold. Depending on the commodity and applicable duty rates, this can lock up significant working capital for anywhere between 30 to 90 days while the goods move through the supply chain towards sale. Time pressure at the port. Now, Indian ports offer a free storage period for import containers, typically 7 days at major ports, extending to 14 or 21 days at certain container freight stations and inland container depots. Once that window closes, demurrage charges begin accumulating. The importer is under a hard deadline to clear goods, regardless of market conditions or readiness. And then, entity and compliance requirements. A foreign company cannot directly import and store goods in India without establishing an Indian legal entity. An IC code and GST registration are mandatory for the importing party. This creates a structural barrier for foreign manufacturers or any traders who want to position inventory close to the Indian market without full incorporation. And flexibility after clearance. Once goods clear Indian customs and enter the domestic market, they're committed to it. Re-exporting those goods internationally becomes a separate and more complex process. The initial import duty paid does not reverse cleanly, and the operational flexibility to redirect inventory is largely lost. Now let's see the same process under an FTWZ. Duty and GST deferred until domestic clearance. Pay only on what you sell when you sell it. Storage is up to 5 years. No demurrage, no forced clearance timeline. Foreign companies operate freely inside the zone without an Indian entity, and there's full flexibility. You can either sell to India, re-export globally, or process and distribute from a single inventory location. Infrastructure built to international standards, temperature control, shock-sensitive handling, and real-time WMS. Cash flow impact is substantially lower. Working capital is freed, landed cost reduced by 8 to 15% depending on the trade pattern. Same goods, same India. Completely different financial and operational behavior. The most common misconception about FTWZs is that they're only for large multinational corporations. Let us be very direct, that is wrong. FTWZ access is determined by your trade pattern and not your company size. Who are the businesses that benefit from an FTWZ? First, importers, of course, who pay heavy upfront duty and want to defer that cost until point of sale. Exporters, who consolidate inventory in India before distributing globally, using India as a regional hub. Foreign manufacturers who want to stock goods near the Indian market without setting up a local entity. And pharmaceutical companies handling temperature-sensitive cargo that requires certified cold chain storage. Electronics and solar traders, who are managing high-value inventory with long distribution cycles. Aerospace and defense suppliers who are handling restricted or sensitive cargo requiring specialized handling. Merchant traders who source from one country and sell to multiple, routing through India as a distribution point. Fortune 100 companies use FTWZs, but so do mid-size importers, regional distributors, and growing B2B operators with consistent cross-border volume. The question is not, am I big enough for an FTWZ? The question is, does my trade pattern fit the model? OSV FTWZ operates government-notified free trade warehousing zones across India. Our infrastructure is built specifically for the trade profiles we just described: importers, exporters, foreign companies, and sensitive cargo operators. What OSV FTWZ offers is duty-free bonded storage for up to 5 years, temperature-controlled, shock-sensitive, and till-sensitive cargo handling, customs clearance and compliance support, so you're not navigating that alone. Real-time inventory tracking through our warehouse management system, support for foreign companies operating in India without a local entity, multi-scale operations from mid-sized traders to enterprise-level multinationals. If you've been running your import or export operations through traditional setup, we'd like you to do one thing. Evaluate your current landed cost, your duty outflow, and your cash cycle against what an FTWZ structure would look like. The numbers usually make the decision for you. Visit osvftwz.com, talk to our team, or drop a comment below with your trade pattern and we'll tell you directly whether an FTWZ fits your business. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. In our next video, we're going to go even deeper, breaking down the actual cost savings with real numbers across different import scenarios. See you there.